So I went to get some food from a review I saw on TikTok, and I'm not going to say the name of the place because I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. But I will tell you this, when I walk up to the door, there was a sign that said black-owned business. And at that point right there, I was like, well, I can't support this place. It's not because I'm racist and the owners are black. It's the fact that they have to advertise that instead of just going with the flow and saying, hey, we make really good fucking food here.
Hello guys, welcome once again to AfriPost. I hope wherever you are, you're having a great time. Now, a few days ago, President Trump signed some law that was kind of bringing back segregation to America. And most blacks talked about it, whites talked about it, and it seems some white people did not have this get out very well because they thought they are being considered to be special and therefore they are getting preferential treatment from Trump's government. But then there is this black lady who was responding to this entire issue where she was confronted by some of her friends, I guess white friends, and asking her about how she feels of the situation where Trump wants this segregation issue to be reinstated. And she had a perfect response to this entire thing. She talked about how for many years, segregation was not intended to make blacks separated, or in fact, the assimilation was not supposed to really make blacks be equal to whites. I wanted to listen to this epic response that she had. Then we shall talk in the end. Let's watch.
So I went to get some food from a review I saw on TikTok, and I'm not going to say the name of the place because I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. But I will tell you this, when I walk up to the door, there was a sign that said black-owned business. And at that point right there, I was like, well, I can't support this place. It's not because I'm racist and the owners are black. It's the fact that they have to advertise that instead of just going with the flow and saying, hey, we make really good fucking food here. What does being black owned have to do with anything when it comes to how good your product or your service is? Seeing a sign on a restaurant or an establishment that says black owned business to me is no different than seeing a sign that says whites only. And I sure the fuck wouldn't eat there. And as a consumer, I base my purchases on whether it's fucking good or not the color of the person's skin who's making it or providing the service.
So I had some white colleagues ask me what I thought about Trump actually segregating whites and blacks. And I actually told them straight up, like, honestly, I would love that. Now, they looked at me like I was crazy and they almost spit up their almond milk. And I think they thought that maybe I was saying that out of hatred, but it really isn't about hatred. Here's the thing. I'm not talking about their version of segregation. See, I'm talking about our version of righteous separation, spiritual sovereignty, and black sufficiency. See, the truth of it is that integration was never about freedom. It was finesse. It was a system's way of saying, let's stop them from succeeding independently so we can profit from their brilliance directly. It was about control. And so I want us to be very clear about this. You know, we were never separate but equal. So that's a lie. We were separate and excelling. We had our own schools. We had our own banks. We had our own businesses. And baby, we were thriving. Black Wall Street, they burned it. Rosewood, they bombed it. Wilmington, they overthrew it. Why? Because we were doing too well without them and they couldn't handle that. And so that's the truth. They didn't really want segregation gone. They wanted control. This is why we know that integration was just repackage of chains. When we were separate, we actually were building and excelling. And when they saw that we could excel without them, then it was like, oh no, we got to take control and make sure that their labor is profiting us. So right around that time, they rolled out this whole standardized testing, ACT and SAT. Y'all remember that? They created this IQ ranking to measure their norms, not our brilliance. And then we were said we were behind when we really weren't. We were just building our own lane, not asking for theirs. See, I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of tired of the lies. It's very exhausting. You know, just the lies that continue to be promoted. And I want to talk about the melanin, because this whole thing that we're not smart enough, that we're not bright enough, is simply just a lie. And so, you know, all this testing that they're doing, and I have kids in school and they're made to feel that they cannot achieve. And I have to remind them about their actual superpower, melanin. See, not just your skin tone, but in your brain, specifically neuromelanin, that rich dark pigment found in areas like the substantia nigra, which are critical for learning and memory and decision making and emotional regulation. See, if you don't know, then you won't know how to respond. But when you learn about the studies that have actually linked the neuromelanin to higher concentrations and how it's related to enhanced memory and processing and higher intelligence and faster reaction times, then you know why they have hidden this information for so long. Because when you have higher melanin, you have stronger brain resilience against degenerative diseases. So translation to that is melanin doesn't just make you glow, it makes you grow. So we know that it's not coincidental that people with more melanin have historically been creators, inventors, innovators across every discipline, while also being the most suppressed, because they know that the more melanin you have in your body and in your brain actually produces higher intelligence. So the Bible also says this too in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verses 7. It says he placed treasures in earthen vessels. What treasures? It was in us all along, right? So we have more melanin, and we know that people with less melanin, because it's a recessive gene and it's a mutation, lack the same level of intelligence, of many different benefits that come along with that. What's so interesting about it is that we're supposed to be looking at this as if it's something negative. But why is it negative when every other cultural group does this? Group economics. See, the truth of the matter is they have stolen from us so many different things, and yet we still survive. And so I don't want to offend, but I have to be blunt here. When we invented it, they patented it. When we built it, they banked on it. So everything we created, they made sure they benefited off of it. Just like Louis Latimer, he actually developed the light bulb, but Edison got all the glory for it. And this has been going on through history. We know that Granville T. Woods laid the foundation for trains. Corporations got the contracts. Dr. Patricia Bath revolutionized eye surgery. The system licensed the tech. Black music became white record labels, billion-dollar industries off of our talent. Every time we create, they capitalize. We are the genius, but they control the royalties. It's quite interesting, isn't it? So when we talk about the facts and segregation, I want to be very clear. It's not racist. We have to understand the dynamics of this. See, the black dollar actually is the fastest running dollar in America. So let's do the math here. And I think it's quite funny. Black people have spending power over 1.6 trillion. But guess what? That dollar stays in our community just for 6 hours. While the white community, their dollar stays in their community 17 days. And guess what? Asian communities, it stays in their community 20 days. Jewish communities over 3 weeks. Why? Because we're systemically disarmed from owning what we build. And this is no coinky dink. The scripture said this would happen. So now our dollar does the labor, but the system collects the check. And this is why I support segregation on our own terms. See, that 400 years of slavery is over. And when I say that I want us to be segregated, I don't mean oppressed. I mean organize. Let's build black banks again. Let's educate our babies on the truth, not whitewashed lies. And let's support black farmers, black techs, black healing, black brilliance. And no, it doesn't mean I hate white people. No, it means I finally love us enough to stop begging for scraps from a table we built but never welcomed to. See, the Bible told us about this. Yet we hop, skip, and jump over the fact that Deuteronomy 28, 43, and 44 already said it. It says, the stranger shall rise above you high, and you shall come down low. They shall lend to you, but you shall not lend to them. And this is exactly what has been happening for 400 years plus years. We built houses, businesses, schools, and they took them and taxed them to death. But beloved, there's hope, because Deuteronomy 30:3 also says, and Yah will turn your captivity and have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all nations. So yes, I welcome segregation, because restoration is already in motion. And I want y'all to understand this. We are not asking for more, we're building. See, we were never given anything from you all. I'm not asking to sit at somebody's table anymore. See, I'm trying to go along with scripture and build my people, gather my people, not because they are more melanated, but because we need to know that we serve the Most High and that He's going to take care of us, because separation was never our curse. It was our covenant. And now it's our strategy. It says to come out from among them, be ye separated. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. So this isn't about racism. It's about us reclaiming what is already ours. Oh, honey, bless your little historically misinformed heart. Somebody told you that your whiteness was a VIP pass to power, and you actually believed it. Like a toddler with a toy steering wheel, you really thought you were driving this car. But come close, I got that news that'll knock the bottle wigs off your ancestors. You thought whiteness was a winning ticket? That proximity to pale skin placed you at the top of the pyramid? Oh no, sugar. That pyramid was built by lies, funded by theft, and designed to keep us both in check while somebody else laughed at the top. See, the truth is your whiteness was a scam, a scheme, a strategic setup. You want to talk about white race? Baby, there was no such thing until elites needed a social sedative to stop the poor from uniting with the enslaved. But let's rewind those receipts. Here comes the intervention of whiteness. Before the 17th century, people didn't even classify themselves as a part of the right race. This concept was conjured up post Bacon's Rebellion in 1676 as a wedge between poor Europeans and enslaved Africans. Divide and conquer was their tactic, and the colonial elite said, let's give these poor whites a badge and a Bible and a buffet of fragile pride. Just enough to stop them from asking for our land and our wealth and our wives. Congratulations, because you didn't get the crown, you got a costume. Welcome to the plantation. You thought that you got out of slavery, but you just got a different job. And let's talk about that truth. You died in wars to protect plantations you never inherited. You fought to preserve a system that only saw you useful when the elites got nervous. You didn't own the slaves, you didn't own the land, you didn't own the system, but you owned the blame, and you did the bidding of the real oppressors. You were the Walmart greeter for the white supremacy smiling at the door. You was enforcing those rules while the CEO sat in the back room counting your ignorance. But let me get this straight. You fought for a system that never fought for you. You defended wealth that never made it to your zip code. You policed neighborhoods you couldn't afford to live in. Make it make sense. And you say, we built civilization, but who built the pyramids? Who charted the stars, birthed the maps, medicine, and mapped out the heavens before your ancestors figured out how to wash their legs? Let me remind you, while you were lighting your castles with candles, we were mastering metallurgy and astrology in Mali. And let's not even get into the Moors who ruled Spain for 700 years, teaching hygiene, irrigation, architecture, and astronomy, while your ancestors were dying from bathing once a year. Let's talk about the real ringmasters, the AJ elites. Now, if you don't know who the AJs are, you better look in the comments. Now, this is going to sting a little, but stay with me. While you were chasing the illusion of superiority, a small elite group of Ashkenazi Jews hijacked the heritage of the real Israelites and built a media, financial, and political empire. Let's talk about these numbers. Media ownership. Robert Eger, chairman, Disney, owns ABC, ESPN, Marvel, and Lucasfilms. Sumner Redstone, Rothsteins, Viacom's CBS, MTV, BET, and Nickelodeon. Arthur Sulzberger's family, the New York Times, Spielberg, Katzenberg, Geffen, DreamWorks, SKG. And what about the banking and finances? Goldman Sachs, founded by Marcus Goldman. Rothschild dynasty, dominated by European banking. Federal Reserves, former chairs, Greenspan, Yellen, Bernanke, Ashkenazi Jew. And what about Hollywood? Warner Brothers, Universal, Paramount, early Jewish immigrants built them all. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying all Jewish people are the problem. We're talking about the elite few who weaponize the identity while sitting on the top, pulling the strings. They are the ones that hijacked our identity, gave you a title with no inheritance, and kept us both distracted with race while they played Monopoly with the global wealth. Shall I remind you that you got privilege but no power? Yes, you got the crumbs. You inherited systems that benefited your bloodline. Yes, you got the land, wealth, privilege, but not the throne. You got the illusion of inclusion while they got everything. And guess what? Now they don't need you anymore. They got tech, they got AI, they got globalism. You were the buffer. Now you're the broken tool. Let me ask you, where's your generational land? Media conglomerate? Wall Street stake? Exactly. This is a wake-up call. You're not the oppressor, you're the pawn. See, they weaponized your whiteness. They manipulated your mind. They fed you superiority while keeping you subservient. You were the foot soldiers for a system that viewed you as collateral damage. But don't get it twisted. This ain't about revenge, it's about revelation. The war ain't black versus white. It's the elite versus everybody. It's a deception versus your deliverance. It's Satan's game versus the Most High's glory. See, the Bible warned us, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, Ephesians 6:12. Now that you know, so what are you going to do with it? You've been sold whiteness like it was salvation, but it was always sedation. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, hijacked, and hustled. But now the veil is lifted, the curtain is pulled back, the puppets see the strings, and you've got a choice. You can stay duped, you can stand delivered. Let the redeemed rise and let the righteous roar. Let the puppet masters feel the heat, because now that you know the truth, the blood is off my hands. Oh, honey girl, as you desperately try to imitate black dialect, a culture that is clearly not yours, it's quite amusing to watch your people constantly hijack, assimilate, and appropriate things that had nothing to do with, and yet you are here boldly stepping on my page to claim that white people move the world forward with technology, modern medicine, and higher living standards. Bless your indoctrinated little heart. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and thoroughly deceived, and I guess it's my job to lay some real history on you and slap you awake with undeniable evidence about your people. Let's talk about it. Historically, your people have done nothing but hijack history, erase it, rewrite it to fit your convenient Eurocentric narrative. Y'all even tried to whitewash Egypt, claiming that blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned Europeans built the pyramids, despite the overwhelmingly historical and genetic evidence that Egypt was a black African civilization. And let's not forget the hilarious irony, y'all aren't even built for Africa. Modern pale skins have the highest cases of skin cancer in North Africa because your mutation was never meant for that land. But y'all had to lie and rebrand Egypt as Middle Eastern to avoid admitting that black people had thriving technology, advanced civilizations long before Europeans ever even bathed themselves regularly. But let's not talk about that. You claim that white people gave the world modern medicine. Oh, that's real cute. Meanwhile, your scholars have been obsessively studying ancient black Egyptian medical texts like the Edwin Smith Papyrus, one of the oldest surgical manuals in existence. Ancient Egyptians were performing brain surgeries, setting broken bones, using medical plants long before Greece or Rome ever existed. But of course, y'all had to steal that knowledge and repackage it under the name of Hippocrates, Plato, and Pythagoras, who literally studied Egypt but somehow get all the credit for it. Even the Library of Alexandria, which held centuries of African and Middle Eastern knowledge, was burned down, conveniently erasing African intellectual contributions so Europeans could later claim everything as their own. Perhaps your Eurocentric education skipped over the fact that Moors, the black Africans, Arabs, Muslims, and Hebrew Israelites ruled Spain for nearly 800 years, 711 through 1492. You see, before the Moors, Europeans were unwashed, disease-ridden, and scientifically illiterate. The Moors introduced algebra, chemistry, medicine, and advanced architecture. Y'all weren't even properly taking baths until you were shown by us how to clean yourselves. Let's be real. Before Africa's influence, Europe was in the Dark Ages, meaning y'all had no scientific, cultural, or technological advancement. But tell me how again white people moved the world forward? See, long before European colonization, Africa had thriving civilizations with complex engineering and metallurgy. But y'all love teaching in the schools that we had lived in huts. How cute. See, Great Zimbabwe had great advanced architecture, iron smelting, and city planning with no European influence whatsoever. What about Timbuktu? Mali Empire, one of the greatest centers of knowledge in history, housing thousands of manuscripts on medicine, astronomy, and law, and it all predated the European Renaissance. But sure, tell me how Africa was uncivilized? White colonialization didn't bring civilization. It stole resources, enslaved people, and burned down African schools to fabricate the myth that African had no civilization before Europeans. The Benin Kingdom had an advanced sewage system before Europe even had proper toilets. The Aztec, Mayans, and Incas built pyramids and irrigation systems and advanced astronomy before Europeans even knew what civilization was. And so what did the Europeans do? Massacre them, stole their gold. Then they had the audacity to claim they discovered America. What? Oh, and speaking of Columbus, you might want to read Dr. Ivan van Sertima's They Came Before Columbus, because Africans had already been to the Americas long before 1492. Columbus didn't discover anything. He invaded, committed genocide, and aren't we doing that again here today, yo people? But history conveniently leaves that part out. See, black people are the true innovators. What would America be without black people? All right, it wouldn't exist, because it was blacks' enslavement of my people who sustained southern economies through farming and agricultural innovations. It was black purchasing power who still keeps this economy alive today. Benjamin Banneker, who actually designed Washington, D.C., a black inventor like Charles Drew, who came up with blood banks, and Dr. Jesse Russell, who came up with cell phone technology, revolutionized medicine and communication. Let's be honest, Europeans needed Africans to escape their own ignorance. During the Islamic Golden Age, African and Middle Eastern scholars preserved Greek and Roman texts, which later helped Europe escape the Dark Ages. Y'all were too far behind and too ignorant to understand science on your own. Without these scholars, much of what you call European knowledge wouldn't even exist. Even today, white nations continue to steal, kill, and destroy because it's all they've ever known. Didn't it say that their father was Satan? He's a liar. He's a thief. He's a stealer. Yeah. So when we talk about Inventions, we're talking to people about cell phone technology, Dr. Jesse Russell. We're talking about refrigeration trucks with Frederick McKinley. We're talking about the traffic light with Jared Morgan. Find it hilarious that you have the nerve to defend white supremacy while sitting here enjoying black innovations, black culture, and black labor. Y'all thrive on what we do. See, here's the hard truth. Europeans didn't bring knowledge to the world. They took knowledge from others, erased history, and then pretended to be the source of civilization. But here's the best part. You will bow down to the very people that you've oppressed for centuries. It's written in God's word. And if you know anything about the Bible is true. So while you sit in your cognitive dissonance and delusions, the truth remains. Your entire legacy is built on theft, lies, and destruction.
Wow, what an epic response from the lady. And I think the reactions that have also come with it are very, very epic. Many black people are aware of the kind of challenges that whites want them to go through. They have seen the separation that they've gone through. They have seen how the Black Wall Street, where blacks were excelling at businesses, were doing well, was burnt down. And they know that for many years, whites have never wanted any good thing to come to black people. And this is evident in many, many cases where we've seen blacks being suppressed, blacks not being given opportunities, blacks not being allowed to undertake certain activities. And that must stop, if you ask me. The separation of black success by white-dominated societies has deep historical roots stemming from colonialism, slavery, and systemic racism. At its core lies a fear of displacement and a deeply ingrained ideology of white supremacy, which constructs whiteness as inherently superior and others, particularly black people, as subordinate. Historically, systems were designed to ensure that black people remained at the margins through denial of education, economic opportunity, and political rights, not necessarily because of an objective inferiority, but because of the perceived threat that black excellence posed to white dominance. The very need to enforce such systems indicates a fear of potential black superiority, especially as black communities showed resilience, innovations, and strength despite centuries of oppression. This fear was magnified during moments of black progress. For instance, the deconstruction of thriving black towns like Tulsa Greenwood District in 1921, often referred to as a Black Wall Street, was not random. It was rooted in fear of black economic ascendancy. Throughout history, successful black individuals or movements have frequently been undermined, criminalized, or co-opted, reflecting a broader societal anxiety about the destabilization of racial hierarchies. The mere notion of black success, when left unfettered, challenges the myth of white superiority. Thus, the separation is not only about maintaining privilege, but also about controlling a narrative that insists black excellence must be exceptional rather than expected. When viewed through a socio-cultural lens, the strength and creativity of black communities, rooted partly in their shared historical struggles and adaptive resilience, have led to disproportionate influence in areas like music, sports, art, and intellectual thought. These arenas of success challenge long-held prejudice and feed into the ongoing fear of black potential. In response, dominant institutions often attempt to commodify, dilute, or control these expressions rather than allow them to flourish independently. The fear isn't just of black excellence in itself, it's of the transformative power that black autonomy and leadership could have on the global stage. Today, amid global conversations on decolonization, reparations, and equity, this fear continues to play out in more subtle but no less insidious forms through economic marginalization, educational disparities, media bias, and more. Recognizing the role of melanin and black identity not as liabilities but as a source of strength, the discourse must shift towards dismantling the systems built on insecurity and fear. True progress lies not in the separation of one group to elevate another, but in acknowledging and embracing the profound value of black lives, cultures, and contributions in reshaping a more equitable world. I think this sums it up. We know that whites have taken part in suppressing blacks, and that they have done almost everything they can and everything in their power to keep blacks under their watch. This will not last for long. Blacks have proved to be resilient. They overcame colonization, they overcame slavery, they overcame segregation, they overcame redlining, they overcame the Jim Crow laws, and they will overcome any obstacle that has been put in them, because for many years our black ancestors have shown us that their resilience is unmatched. Tell us down in the comment section what you think about this. And if you're watching us for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can share the video and also like it. You can join our membership where you get exclusive content tailored just for you. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless you. Goodbye.